Hi everyone, it's Gatti, and in this video I want to talk about foliage, so how to optimize foliage. And for the last 2 years I've been working mainly on vegetation, so foliage, grass, tree in general, rock as well, and I just want to share with you some of the knowledge that I learned for the last 2 years about grass in general, so how to optimize this. I also need to say that this foliage does not use nanite, because I think that right now nanite foliage are underperforming compared to usual cord foliage. So as you can see here, if I go in lighting only, I'm only using cord basically to render this foliage. And yeah, I think for grass, not for maybe tree, but for grass at least, the best performance mesh will be using cord, and so traditional LED system with cord for the grass at least. So first, as you can see, I have all the 5 assets that I'm using on an LGT. So basically I'm using an material that I will sell soon on the Unreal Engine marketplace. And in this LGT, so landscape grass type, I have 5 static mesh, which are all spawned on my material on the not sloppy surface basically. And yeah, so here I have the 5 mesh, I have my landscape grass type, and I have all the material of my mesh as well. So now let's see how we can optimize our scene by using some of the tools that Unreal Engine provides us. So the first tool that I want to show is the stat unit tool. So as you can see here, to render this scene, I'm using I basically have 26.7 milliseconds to render each frame. And as you can also see, my GPU time is around 25.5. So what we can see from there is that the main thing that is using to render this scene is my GPU. So now that I know this, I can go in stat GPU mod. So I will type stat GPU on my command. And so as you can see here, we have more information about what is causing the performance drop on our scene. So I have to say first that foliage texture in general does render most of the time from GPU. So you mainly want to focus on the GPU information if you work on any vegetation in general. Okay, so now as you can see, I have roughly around 26 milliseconds so to render each frame on the GPU. And so now we'll see by optimizing our LD how much that we can win from just optimizing our LD. So yeah, first I have to say that on LGT, if I look for Cull Distance, I think it's by default Cull Distance. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's 20k. So of course I'm rendering from very far. That's of course not very optimized. We're gonna change that later. But to see the use of LD, I changed this to the default value. So let's go and jump on our static mesh. So maybe open all of the static mesh that you will also all of the foliage, and in here look for LD. So just type LD in the search bar, and in here this should be not set to true, so just check it, and now we can see all of our LD. And so as you can see here, I have some very low value. Of course, it is me. I've changed the value to be very low to see a very noticeable change from the LD optimize. And so yeah, so basically very easy to understand. We are using screen size, so current screen size to render LD. So basically, if I, because I have this value 0.02, if I am so above 0.02, I will be rendering LD 0, and if I'm below 0.02, I will be rendering LD 1. So of course 0.02 is very far, that's why it's not optimized. So now the perfect balance will be to just have the perfect balance between quality and performance. So you don't want to see too much of the transition between LD, but you also don't want to have a lot of performance. So let's find a good value, and I think a good value for me on this mesh right now will be 0.5 on LD1. So now as you can see, if I'm at below 0.5, I will go and jump on LD1. And the LD2 will be, I think, 0.2. Okay. So yeah, except for LD2, I think LD2 need to be a bit lower, I would say, in this case. Yeah, I think right now it's pretty good LD setup. So let's just do all of this the same on all of the mesh. So I'm roughly gonna do it. Of course, you might want to go back and forth on your static mesh to see if it's good or no. But for the sake of this video, we're just gonna enter the same value on all of the static mesh. So yeah, as you can see here, we went from 26 millisecond to 17. So of course it's a 9 millisecond difference. So of course that's the big impact of optimizing our LD. So now if I go in so level detail coloration, as you can see, we have way better optimized LD. And one thing that you can see here is that I'm rendering LD2 on this floor, and which is something that I don't want to have. So I might want to change this to be 0.1 and 0.05. And yeah, I think it's fully well optimized right now, the LD. Okay, so now let's talk about shadow. So of course, shadow on foliage is very important. It's important for quality, but of course for performance, because making shadow for foliage is a lot of performance. So we want to optimize this because it's gonna just optimize and make us have way more so FPS after we optimize this. So first, let's see how much we lose. So gain in terms of FPS. And so millisecond if we turn off cast shadow. So I went from 19 to 9. So basically a drop of 10 millisecond, which is a big improvement. And so that's why shadow is very important to optimize as well. So the thing that we can see here, it's in my LDT, if I look so for shadow, we have the option. We have the cast dynamic shadow and we have the contact shadow. And contact shadow is very useful because it's, as you will see, a very quality shadow, but also a very minimal heat performance shadow. So I'm just gonna turn off all of the cast static shadow. As you can see there, I will just wait for it to compute. And as you can see here, I went drastically down in terms of millisecond to render each frame. I think I forgot one of them. But we now have no shadow on our foliage, so we lose a lot of quality. And so one thing that is very useful is contact shadow. So to turn on contact shadow, it's you go in the detail panel of your source light and you just put some value in there. So for me, the perfect value will be 0.04. And as you can see, this will create a shadow on our mesh. And as you can see, we basically have no heat performance. Maybe I would say 1 or so on our foliage, but it's very minimal compared to the shadow, so the quality shadow that we gain on our foliage. So that's a pretty good way of just making sure that we keep quality, but also optimizing our foliage. So the other thing that we can do is, as you can see here, contact shadow does not work from very close. So you don't have any shadow from very close. And so the thing that we can do to optimize this is we can turn back shadow, so dynamic shadow on each of the mesh here that we have. So of course we're gonna go back to the 20 millisecond. But if we go close, as you can see, we still have those dynamic shadow which are improving our quality. So now the thing that we can do is we can go on our static mesh, and in LD1 and 2, I will just turn off cast shadow on each of those LD, so on each of those static mesh. Now I'm gonna wait for it to compute so we can see the difference. I actually need to wait. Okay, that was not very long. So as you can see, we went from 20 to 13 with the shadow, but we have a closed dynamic shadow, and we also have a contact lens to all the far shadow and the medium shadow, basically. So yeah, now about another shadowing issue. This will be the wine effect on our foliage. This will cause a lot of performance hits. And so so parameter that we have on this. So this will be also available on the foliage tool. Whenever you have a foliage in here, you will have the same setting, and its name will be the same. So this is instance world position offset disabled instance. And when it's set to 0, it's basically not adding any offset to the world position distance. So I'm basically, it's not optimized. And so that's, this setting will just make my so world position offset, which is also create wine on our foliage. And so I can now set a distance where I want to see my wine to appear. So if I set this to 50, so this will be of course very close. As you can see now, I only have the wine from 0 to 5 meter, and above 5 meter, I won't have any world position offset. So of course, this can drastically decrease the hit on the performance, but because we already optimize the shadow on our foliage, we cannot see a very big difference, because world position offset does work and hits a lot because of shadow. So here, one thing that we can do is on our, so all of our mesh, so I'm gonna look for world, and on all of our foliage, I want to set this value to be, I would say maybe 2000. So 200 meter. And so now on all my mesh, I will not have wine affecting my mesh above 200 meter. And so that's a very important parameter to optimize our mesh. As you can see here, we gain about, I would say, 1 millisecond in average. And so now another important parameter, it's the cull distance. So cull distance, as you probably already know, it's used to so de-render static mesh from a distance. So here, as you can see in ncull, I have 20k. This means at basically, I think it's 2 kilometer. No, I think it's 300 meter. And 2000, it's 20 meter. So at 20k units, so 200 meter, I will not have grass render. And so this is a very useful parameter to change if you want to optimize your grass. Of course, you're gonna see grass from less distance, so this might be not useful to touch if you want to have the best quality. But if you want to improve your performance, I would lower these to, I would say, 5k on all of this mesh. And I want to have my star cull distance at 0, so it's like fading in and out. Yeah. So now, one major problem that you can have on your mesh, so your grass in general, is that you can see a sharp edge on the edge of the ncull, and that's maybe something that you don't want to have. And so this is why in my material in here, so I'm gonna go in my master material, so in my opacity mask, so here I just create a simple and very easy parameter. So I'm basically only using a capture depth fade with so this parameter and this parameter. And so I just 1 minus this value, and I also so use a static switch to if I want to use it or not. So with one value in false, if I don't want to use it, and I just multiply this by my opacity logic. So if you don't have any opacity logic, you basically just take this and just put it on the opacity mask right there. And so now in my material instance, I have this option to turn on or off the fade distance. And so I'm gonna set this like so, and I'm gonna set the value to be 9000, I would say, on each one of these material. So for each vegetation mask mesh that I have, I will turn this on. Like so. I will wait for it, and now as you can see, I slowly decrease the opacity of my grass, the more is far from the camera. So of course you might want to optimize this as you wish. Here I have 9K, so maybe I would increase my, so let me go in my LGT, maybe I will increase this value to be 7 or maybe 9K. So of course this value that you put here may vary on what performance that you want to achieve with your grass. But as you can see now, if I put that to 9K, my grass will go around 9K, but it will slowly fade out, so we cannot see any sharp edge. And yeah, that's a big improvement in terms of quality, of course. Yeah, I also forgot to say that one other optimize that you can do on your grass and foliage in general, it's to decrease the texture quality. So I will go in here in my state mesh folder, and in here I'm just gonna look for texture, and so I'm just gonna take all of them by holding shift, and here I'm gonna go look for asset action, edit selection in property matrix, and so I want to compare the result. So as you can see here, the base pass, which is basically our material, it's taking roughly 1.8 millisecond to render my grass. And so this is also being affected by the landscape material. So I might also want to change the landscape material resolution, so the texture resolution. And so here I can, so once I'm in the property matrix, so whenever I'm not selecting anything, I will be selecting everything. So here I'm just gonna look for LD. And so by default, this should be set as 0. So this will be 4K. And if I reduce this, so if I enter a 1, it's gonna divide this by 2. So I'm gonna have a 2K resolution. Maybe I can see, no, I cannot see it there. But yeah, basically I went from so 4K resolution to 1K resolution. So here I'm at 1.6. If I go back to 4K, I'm at 1.70, and if I decrease it to something very low, of course I'm gonna have very low resolution, I went down to 1.5. So it's not very noticeable right now, but of course I do also have some texture to decrease on the landscape as well if I need to. So the change will be more higher if I take also the texture of the landscape. But yeah, this, depending on your complexity of material, this can help a lot improving our so base pass render time. Okay, so two last thing to optimize our mesh. First, let's go in this, and in optimize view, we have the overdraw. So the quad overdraw will just show us if we have too much overdraw. So I would say that green is okay. Of course, blue is perfect, but green is okay. And if you go to, let's say, something red, this will start to becoming very to have a very big hit on the performance. So I would consider green be okay, and above red to be changed, to need to be changed. So here, the overdraw is a very big part of the performance hit for our foliage. And now I will go in shader complexity. And as you can see here, green is good and red is not good. So of course, this is my auto landscape. So automatic landscape, this is why it's red, because I don't have RVT turned on. And so for the grass, this is green, so this is perfect. So this is, of course, if you have a too complex shader, I have 228 instruction on my material. So of course, it's not that much for grass material. So this is why the complexity of my shader is good. So I have good overdraw and good shader complexity. And so the last thing, the final touch, which is very important at the end, is we need to go in edit project setting, and in here we are gonna look for shadow, and in here by default this should be set to virtual shadow map, but virtual shadow map is used for nanite, and because we are using card and we are not using nanite on our foliage, I'm just gonna turn this to be shadow map. And yeah, so that's it for the performance boost. And as you can see, we went from so 26 millisecond in average to 6.7 millisecond average. Of course, it's still a very high density of so grass. And so you might want to decrease, of course, the value of how much, so the density that you have on your landscape to have even better performance. But at the end of the day, we went from 26 to 6, basically, so 6.7. So we decreased by 20 the milliseconds to render each frame, which is a big boost. And also, we have not lost too much of the quality for our grass. So we not are removing basically the shadow to just gain performance. We're just optimizing each stuff to gain a performance boost. Guys, so thanks for watching this video. I hope you learn something new about optimizing your foliage. And yeah, if you're still not subscribed to my channel, maybe consider subscribing, because I will upload a lot of Unreal Engine tutorial on environment creation in general, and also a lot of tutorial on speed tree. So yeah, I hope you will subscribe and see you there.